Hey, what's up everybody? ESAM here bringing you another video. This one going to be the third part of my tier list video. So the last two videos I obviously went over the low tiers and the bottom tiers, and this one is going to be the longest video, and it's going to be going over mid tiers because I do feel like mid tiers has the most characters in it. I believe there are something like 17 characters in this tier, 18 characters, but they are in two different tiers. The first tier is going to be tied, everyone in that tier is tied, and then the tier above that, I think a general order from left to right being lowest to highest is going to apply. But anyway, let us get started. So the first character I do want to talk about is going to be Duck Hunt Dog. So Duck Hunt is a character, obviously, that we have one character that has pretty immense success in the terms of Raito, who gets pretty much 13th at every major, beating several top players, including DeBuzz, myself, and several of the other Gatekeeper top players such as Charlie the King and others. He is an absolutely fantastic player. He has a bunch of traps. I mean, the character as well has a bunch of traps. He's very impressive at utilizing everything this character has. Makes the, Duck Hunt can't kill. Sometimes he can get kills so early. You saw him get the 0 to death at Evo. You've seen him get ridiculously early edge guards and stage spikes and just can setups that kill at 90 to 95%. And so while Duck Hunt, can quote unquote struggle to kill, and he does have a lot of the flaws that I still believe that the character has, especially in my former tier list when I'm putting him a lot lower, he does have trouble recovering when someone is able to be aggressive on him. He does have trouble killing if you're able to avoid the setups, but Raito and the other top Duck Hunts manage to land so many grabs that mitigate a lot of that pressure because he's able to edge trap, he's able to get grabs into cannon to up air, he's able to just do things and make it so much more difficult for players to essentially run away from him or get away from the kill setups. You saw that versus Larry Lur at CEO Dreamland. It was just so impressive that he's able to do all of these things with such a meh character, in my opinion. I mean, obviously mid-tier, but Raito, in my opinion, probably a top 25 player in terms of skill. Sometimes he does fall short just because, he hasn't top 8'd an American major, just because, again, his character is a bit flawed. He does have several hard matchups in the top tier, most notably Bayonetta and Cloud. Those matchups are not fun, but he is obviously always getting better and always going up. And so Duck Hunt, not a character to be slept on, obviously not a great character, but not one that is bad either. Next is a character I personally have a lot of fun with. He was my secondary for a little bit, one of the most free-flowing characters in the game, and that is going to be Yoshi. So Yoshi obviously has some immense strengths. His momentum is impressive, his jab is really good, his combo strings are pretty impressive. They don't do a lot of damage, but they always reset into favorable positions for Yoshi that it can lead to more damage. He can edge guard, he has a decent recovery, but at the same time it is easily messed with, or not easily, but it can be messed with if you hit him out of a couple of his eggs. Forced to double jump, you can give him the 50-50 of, am I going to try to footstool you so you have to air dodge, or do you think I'm going to read the air dodge and hit you back out, now you don't have any eggs and then you die. So Yoshi, the ability for him, or the lack of ability I guess for him to recover sometimes, is a huge hindrance. His biggest hindrance is the fact that he has no real kill confirms other than jab. His grabs don't confirm into anything, his nair barely confirms into anything at death percent, unless you get the perfect nair at a specific distance from off stage into forward air, and that's good for him. But this character, he has so many little things, but he just does struggle to kill. He has to anti-air up smash, he has to read something with a forward smash, or somehow get under someone with an up air. Up tilt up air I don't think ever really kill confirms, unfortunately. He does have some cheeky kill confirms on triplats and things like that with a full hop down air, but again, that is SDI-able and it's unfortunate, so it's very, very hard to land these setup blows into kill moves, because Yoshi does have a decent amount of kill moves by itself. Back air is strong, up air is strong, forward air can be strong, obviously his smash attacks are powerful, but he has a really hard time setting them up, and he loses to shield very, very heavily because grabs will never lead to anything. If you just DI out off his down throw, nothing can ever be done. You don't even have to mash air dodge, you can just kind of jump away and go to the ledge, and Yoshi can ledge trap a little bit with eggs. He is a decent character, obviously. His defensive play is kind of annoying, but when it has to come to him being offensive, it is very difficult, and sometimes it is difficult for him to get back into neutral. Once he gets put in disadvantage, he has to burn his double jump to go high, and then pretty much rely on beer versus egg lays or beer versus eggs in order to get down, and so then you can end up dying at early stock. I've killed so many Yoshis just from I forward aired them, they double jumped out, they tried to beer versus egg lay, I got an up air, they tried to egg out, I got them, they tried to air dodge, I up tilted them before they landed, now they're dying at 40% from a hit at 0. It's really, really unfortunate for that character that happens, but still strong. And obviously I think a lot of these characters in this mid tier can move up as you see the expertise in certain characters rise. If there was a better Yoshi main that was constantly going, because right now the best Yoshi main we have is Seth. Sky Williams could be a good Yoshi, but doesn't go to tournaments. You obviously see Raito do amazing, and most of these characters do have 1 or 2 top representatives that we see, but I feel like if they broke into the next level, maybe we would see this character go up on the tier list. So obviously in my opinion, right, because this is my opinion, it's not an official tier list by any means, but as it stands, I would definitely say Yoshi is in the bottom half of mid-tier. And next up is going to be a character that had a lot of buzz, or had no buzz, then a lot of buzz, and then kind of fizzled off, and that is going to be Lucas. So Lucas obviously has his incredibly potent grab combos, his incredibly potent spikes and edge guards, and his generally defensive neutral wall that is very difficult to get around between his Zair and his PK Fire. However, Lucas cannot catch people. If he does not have the lead, Lucas has to put himself in such a bad, position just to be, or in order to be aggressive, in order to attack people on platforms, in order to get confirms on the ground when they're not approaching. It's so difficult for him. If he's in the lead and he's doing this, he's an amazing character because approaching between PK Fires, pivot grabs, dash grabs, and Zair is going to be very difficult, and even like short hop backwards fair. But if he's approaching, all those options tend to not really work, especially on, let's say, short characters. Zair is very difficult to approach with, and obviously most of the things are punishable if he's not moving backwards, and so it really gets very difficult for him to recover the lead back. Fortunately for him, he does have a very far recovery. It's kind of difficult to mess with. The tether really does help him, so it's not like lol abusable off stage. You obviously have Taihada, but he stopped going to America and his results kind of dropped off in Japan because the general defensive meta of Japan has led it so that Lucas can't really approach, and if his opponents are playing defensive, it's very hard for Lucas to do anything. So while he does have those crazy grab combos and those footstool combos and blah blah blah, if you don't let him go to FD and you play a little bit more defensive, you will be doing just fine versus this character. But still, with the explosions of damage and potentially edge guarding, I did put him in mid-tier instead of low tier. Next up is going to be a character that is probably one of the weirdest characters to fight against in the entire game for a lot of people, and that is going to be Mr. Game & Watch. So his animations are incredibly deceiving. Obviously he's very blocky in terms of his animation, so it's hard to see when he's doing things. It's hard to determine when things are changing in his animation, like if he's jumping or when he's going for like dash attack or things like that immediately, especially if they're using the white color. Air dodges and neutral get-ups are very hard to detect. But this character does have a lot of stuff. He does an incredible amount of damage. You see like down throw, up tilt, double nair do like 45. Once you're at like 10, it's a crazy amount of damage. He has pretty decent kill potential from his raw moves, although not a lot of kill setups other than Toot Toot. When granted, Toot Toot is like really good, but if you know those percents, you will be doing a decent amount better versus him, because then he's going to have to go for some raw kill moves like up smash, which obviously is an amazing move and has head intangibility and armor, blah blah blah. So he has a lot of tools. It is very difficult to edge guard him because of his invulnerable and disjointed and very fast up B. It's hard to ledge trap him because of, as I mentioned, it's hard to like notice when like his neutral getup's kind of weird because he starts the animation like still hanging on to the ledge, because again it is very static as opposed to like a fluid animation, so it's kind of difficult to do that. And he has a decent neutral, although he only has a few tools, but he does have things like dash attack. Obviously you're scared of the dash grab because of the damage, and he does have things like raw back air or raw up smash to try to mitigate people's aerial approaches. So this character, honestly, between Reggie and Cosmos, they do have a decent amount of results and wins, and I'm personally not a fan of this character. Fighting this character is very scary, but he's still mid-tier because he does have flaws. He's obviously one of the lightest characters in the game. If you avoid his grabs, his damage is very much so mediocre. He does obviously have the factor of the lol down throw 9 type of thing, but either way, that's not going to come up very often. Still definitely not a low tier in my opinion, but a solid mid tier. Up next is a character we have very limited experience with in the States, but in Japan he is one of the most prevalent characters, at least from an American perspective, because we saw him tear through Civil War, and that is going to be Link. So obviously T is crazy. He does so many things with Link. He has a bunch of wins in Japan, he has a bunch of wins in America. What a scary player. Link obviously is incredibly powerful, has a lot of shield pressure, has bombs to get him out of sticky situations and to enhance his recovery. He does have a tether recovery, so it's kind of difficult. He can edge trap fairly well, and pretty much what this character has is a bad disadvantage. He's very comboable. He doesn't really have that many get away from me options other than like YOLO downer, but you can always hit that from the side. It's like an easier version of Clouds. And he has a very hard time getting off the ledge, in my opinion. Those three things are going to be the things leading him down. Oh, and his lack of mobility. I definitely saw when in him versus Ken, which I analyzed. If you want to check out that set, you should totally do so. It'll probably be in the end screen later. He would understand what Ken wanted to do, but was literally too slow to punish. And obviously that is like Sonic, so it's very much so an outlier in terms of the speed. But either way, Link is just so slow, so a lot of times opportunities go by him and he cannot do anything. He has a grab 50-50 or kill confirm, I'm not 100% sure, with down throw up air at high percents. He obviously has a bunch of other kill moves like forward tilt, dash attack, forward air, just pretty much everything that Link has is going to kill. He's a very strong character, but the lack of mobility is going to hurt him, especially considering the majority of the top tiers are very speedy, and he also doesn't really have that many great out of shield options unless he has a bomb in hand. his best option is going to be like up B or add a shield Nair, both of which, Nair is pretty slow because his jump squat is really bad. I think it's like 6 frames, and his Nair is like 5 or 6, so it's a 12 frame option at a shield that hits pretty high because Link jumps very quickly, or it's going to be up B at a shield, which if you get that shielded, that is a free like charge smash attack, and so it's very, very hard for him to deal with pressure other than just like rolling out. But that is a big problem, especially again because most of the top tiers will hit you and keep you in disadvantage as long as you can, or just pressure your shield very, very heavily, and Link really does not have an option against that other than like outspace it and then forward tilt. This character is very, very scary. You cannot sleep on him, but definitely has some flaws, and so that is why I'm putting him in the bottom half of mid tier. This next character, I almost put him in the tier below, but I feel like he's a little bit too solid in order to categorize him as a low tier, so he's definitely just going to be, I think, probably the weakest character of this whole tier, and is going to be Pit. So Pit, obviously we have the one outstanding representative in terms of Earth, although he is a Pit Corrin dual main at this point. You do have the one Pit I know in the US that is pretty decent is going to be K-Swiz, and Kiraflax is also pretty good, but Pit pretty much has nothing wrong with him, but nothing super great about him. He has a decent neutral with dash grab and dash attack. He has some pretty good anti-airs with up smash, some pretty decent kill potential with, as I said, up smash, back air, forward smash, and forward throw. Doesn't really have any crazy kill setups, it's more so just like raw reads and neutral or raw punishes. He has a decent recovery, although it is abusable because his up B does not have a hitbox. He has some decent edge guarding because he has multiple jumps and that far up B, so he can go out there and not really be scared of not making it back. But at the same time, he doesn't have crazy combos, he doesn't do a lot of damage, he's not immensely powerful, you're not really extremely scared of him at any time unless you're like over 110, and then you can't jump because up smash is going to kill you. But either way, this character, pretty decently fast on the ground, somewhat decent air mobility, just has a lot of things going for him in terms of a mediocre way, but nothing crazy. Like you've never been like, wow, Pit, that option is too good, but at the same time you've never been like, wow, Pit's this option sucks, because he's decent at getting out of disadvantage due to his multiple jumps and his somewhat safe arrows upon landing and that are multi-hit, so it's kind of hard to mess with. You also have his super armor on his side B, which is pretty annoying to deal with, so if he's not like super far off stage and having to up B, his recovery is somewhat safe, so you just have like a lot of things that are good about this character, but the characters in the tiers higher start having things that are really, really unfair in my opinion, and so that is pretty much what's going to put him here. Next is a character that has obviously a lot of buzz about him, between him being bad and him being good and him being changing the opinions of his mains and blah 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 blah, and that is going to be our boy Roy. So Roy is in my opinion the second worst Fire Emblem character, although I will not be placing Lucina just because of redundancy, because I would put her in the same place as Marth, or maybe 1 or 2 spots below, and I feel like it's not really worth it for me to put that on a tier list. But Roy, you know, obviously is very, very different from the other swordsmen, has these sweet spots in his hilt of the sword as opposed to the tip. He does have some different moves, some different animations. He's a very interesting character. He's very good off the hit, he's very good at keeping people in disadvantage and comboing them. His speed on the ground makes it very good for juggling, but at the same time he does struggle a lot of the times because one, his recovery is worse than the Fire Emblem characters above him. Like, it's really easy to trade with up B and just get him out there, and because he's such a fast faller, you know, a lot of combos or edge guards that lead him lower, he just won't be able to recover after that, and that's very, very unfortunate. He is one of the easiest characters in the entire game to combo, so little tiny hits can lead to so much damage on Roy. I've seen more like Roy to 0 deaths than like most other characters, the other one being like Falcon. It is very, very hard for him to get out of disadvantage, you know, out of combos in general, back on the stage. So this character's disadvantage is what's going to put him down here, because in neutral he's actually pretty decent. You know, his sword isn't quite as good at keeping people out as the other swordsmen because he wants to really hit people with his hilt, so he's playing more aggressively or more like in people's faces and mix up heavy as opposed to spacing heavy that the other swordsmen are able to do because of how their swords work. And because of that, you know, his frame data still lacks because he doesn't have the frame data of a close quarter combat character like, let's say, Luigi or even Yoshi or Game & Watch, but at the same time doesn't have the advantage of like spacing with his sword, because if you get the sour spot, it's generally not going to lead into much unless you're doing like you know, rising full hop forward air sour spots that leads into more fairs. You know, does have some cheeky stuff on Smashville, does have some pretty decent kill potential. He does, I mean, he has crazy kill potential if you hit with the sweet spot, but just general ones, you have jab up B, you obviously have up throw, you have jab forward air 50-50s, or jab like short hop like forward smash or things like that, back air edge guards. You know, he's actually very good at edge trapping with the use of Blazer, or I think that's his neutral B, so like it can cover the immediate ledge jump, and then if they do anything else you can cover and throw them back off stage or hit them, or just, you know, generally it's really pretty painful. He does have some footstool combos with up air footstool into like landing up air footstool and blah 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 into back air. Does a decent amount of damage, but I feel like Roy, when he gets hit too hard. I do think he's one of these, he's probably the strongest character in this entire tier if I were to like make a distinction, but I definitely say he does have too many flaws to put him even in the higher half of mid tier. Up next is a character I am very, very familiar with. He has been one of the shining characters in South Florida, but unfortunately my opinion of him has gone down as the meta has progressed, and that is going to be another Fire Emblem character, Robin. So Robin has amazing strengths, has checkmate, which is one of the best kill confirms in the entire game, has 11 sword arrows, which are incredibly powerful, combo into themselves, are safe, they do like 13 to 17 damage depending on which one it has amazing zoning capabilities, has just really scary advantage state, but this character has way too many flaws. If you are a character with a good crouch, you can literally crouch under all of the thunder spells. The recovery is abusable. It is very hard to zone characters that are, or like to play against characters that are camping you, because if they can avoid thunder and can react to arc fire and punish you for it, it is very, very problematic for this character to do pretty much anything offensively. So similar to Lucas, this character is great if your opponent is approaching you, but unfortunately not that great at pressing the issue. Obviously, Robin is also the literal slowest character on the ground in the game, the slowest run speed, slower than Ganon for some godforsaken reason. I'm not exactly sure, but sometimes, you know, it doesn't matter because you get the hit and you just do so much damage. It is actually ridiculous. Robin has so many setups, has a crazy damage output, but at the same time, the best thing about Robin is Levin Sword, and Levin Sword can be, you know, not a thing. Like if you use it too many times, it will get dropped and you don't have it for I think 5 more seconds. Same thing with Thunder and the Fire books, or all the books in general. You know, you can actually run out of Wind Book in the middle of an up B, which is really, really unfortunate. So this character has to do so much paying attention to all of the spells they've used and all these things to know when they're out of things in order to play different type of defense. And you know, if you lose Levin Sword, you lose your best kill options in terms of all of the aerials, the smash attacks, and checkmate. So that is very, very problematic because it's hard for Robin to get in as is, but if you don't have your Levin Sword, then it's all gonna not really matter, and it allows your opponent to live way longer. But at the same time, when you get it, you know, you want to be throwing out those moves to get a kill, but if the person is spacing or playing passive, you're just going to be swinging at the open air and unfortunately lose it again, and that is honestly a huge deal. So between that and the crouching and the ability to get rinse and repeat edge guards, if you're a character like Sheik or Pikachu or any character that just has a back air that sends kind of like mid, like low a little bit, you know, if the Robin uses their double jump, it's L, win, hit out, and then just do it over and over again until they run out of Wind Book and literally cannot recover, or they die if they're at high percents. So those are going to be the main flaws of this character and why I put him in low tier. And speaking of some familiarity, when it comes to South Florida, I am going to put another one of the characters that we are known for down here, which is going to be Rob. So Rob, obviously at the beginning of the game, was legitimately a stronger character, had a stronger kill throw. Obviously a lot less people knew how to deal with neutral air or any of the things he was really doing, but this character, as time went on, just became a character that struggled to get at a disadvantage. You know, people are more comfortable DIing up air, so the weird DI beat boop kills at 50 aren't really going to happen anymore. People have learned how rage works, have learned when to avoid his moves, have avoided his setups, and learned the counterplay to his edge play setups, which are obviously very strong, with like the throw, gyro, down, like dash, up smash, and it covers every ledge option other than get off the ledge and then grab the gyro or throw it back. You know, people have been getting better with items in general because of the prevalence of Diddy Kong, and so the gyro play in general is going to be less efficient. People are learning how to mess with the recovery, and while Rob does have an incredible zoning game, very difficult to get in sometimes, and can press the issue and has some pretty nice strings, I feel like it is not essentially enough to get over the fact that, one, the matchups with top tiers have been getting harder, especially since DLC has been around. Cloud absolutely destroys this character, Bayonetta absolutely destroys this character, Mewtwo does very well against this character, and even then, like, for a zoner, he definitely loses to other zoners. I don't know how exactly he does versus Lucas, but I know he loses versus Samus, he loses versus Mega Man. I would say he has a decently tough time with Toon Link and Olimar, but it's difficult for this character to really do anything unless you get those really potent setups, but again, people are learning the way around it, and so if you're falling for them, it's either the person conditioned you, like the person playing Rob conditioned you very heavily, or you just don't know about it because he's become more of an unfamiliar character in this meta. But I feel like that doesn't give him the excuse of being kind of mediocre, so I am going to put him in the bottom half of mid tier. And that is going to be it for the bottom half of mid tier. Obviously, we actually have an odd number, so the next tier is going to be one character shorter, and this one is going to be generally ordered, not 100,000%, but the general order of what I think these characters are. So the first character in this second tier is going to be who, in my opinion, is one of the hardest characters to play in the game, and that is going to be Greninja. So Greninja obviously has so much offensive potential. If he gets the hit, you've seen all the crazy vine combos, the footstool combos that are somewhat inescapable, assuming you are decent at reading the footstool, the falling after the footstool, or sometimes you're even too low, so you still get like 40 to 50%. He has a kill throw, he has 50/50s with up throw, up air, he has, or just like shadow sneak, he has a bunch of ways to really play defensive in terms of just his general movement and water shuriken and things like that. But I feel like the character is, not exactly bad. Like, this is the upper half of the cast for sure, but I feel like he is so difficult, and that is honestly going to be a detriment for him, because you have to be playing harder than your opponent, even in an even matchup. And one of the things about the top tiers, or like even the high tiers, is the fact that they can play kind of worse than their opponent, but still get away with like their strong gimmicks or just general overpowered option. I feel like Greninja doesn't really have anything overpowered, it's just very good. One of the best things about him actually is what, in my opinion, I would call a glitch, which is the fact that he's able to shadow sneak out of moves that don't put you into tumble, which include a lot of multi-hit moves, or even like 2-hit smash attacks or weak moves in general. Like, he can shadow sneak out of down tilt forward smash from Diddy Kong and actually get a punish, and that's kind of insane. But I feel like, again, this character very difficult, and actually does crumble when forced to approach. Water Shuriken can only do so much, and a lot of his approaches are going to be with like short hop nair, and if I'm going to be very critical of Zero Suit for being able to, like, oh, just like power shield the nair, then you can do the same thing with Greninja. And while he does have a faster grab than Zero Suit, is also less rewarding, and he's not quite as dumb with rage. So I feel like he does have a lot of things, but slightly too difficult. And the fact that his recovery is good, but it's still abusable because the hitbox, or the water pushing of the up B, is only behind him. And so if you are able to get where he needs to, like, if you're in front of where he needs to go, it is very difficult for Greninja to get around that, although you do have to be careful for shadow sneak, and so that's why I'm going to put him as the first character in the second half mid tier. Next up is a character I think that has too much potential in terms of getting out at his advantage and just offensive strength in general, and that is going to be Ness. So Ness obviously has incredibly large flaws with his abusable recovery that can get countered or just like generally hit out and edge guarded fairly easily, but I think this character is like just a significantly better version of Little Mac, because on stage this character is so scary. He has dash attack, which is one of the best dash attacks in the game in my opinion. He obviously has an amazing dash grab and amazing throw conversions, the single best kill throw in the game bar none by a significant margin. Crazy aerials like nair, forward air, up air, just incredibly safe strong aerials. Has down smash, which is one of the best moves for edge pressure in the entire game. It is just, he has so many things going for him. Literally, if his recovery wasn't garbage, he would easily be a top 10 or 15 character, but the recovery is going to put him down here. But I think he is too strong and too scary to put him any lower than this. Like, landing up air is so safe, his hitbox is absolutely huge, and like, it's safe on shield pretty much, especially considering he can just cross you up because his air mobility is ridiculous, and because of that his air dodge is even better. It's so hard to pin him down in the air, even if you're in advantage against him, and it's always scary because you have to be careful that you're not going to trade with an up air, which will kill light characters at like 95 even with no rage, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Has so much offensive power, and so I definitely do put him in the top half of mid tier for sure. Up next is the character that people arguably have the least amount of fun playing, except against some of the top tiers, and that is going to be another Pokemon, Lucario. So Lucario obviously is a character that you're never winning against Lucario ever unless you are completely one stock up, because of the thing called Aura. So Aura is probably the dumbest single mechanic in the entire game in my opinion, especially that stacked with Rage. He can get kills as early as 30%. I would know, I literally was playing against Day, a Lucario main, and I got forward smashed at 30% at the end of the game and died. You see crazy confirms with, let's say, B reverse Aura Sphere charge into up smash, or back air, or just general things. When he has Aura, he's incredibly safe on shield, but when he does not have Aura, he's like one of the worst characters in the game. Has some decent combo throws with like up throw fair up air, or up throw, double fair nair or something like that. Like, he does a decent amount of damage with no Aura, but his entire like presence is just less scary, and his kill potential is very mediocre. But the minute that dude hits like 80%, 100%, 120, God forbid 140, 160, he's a wrecking ball. Especially you see it in doubles when he SDs and then is killing people at 35% off of a throw from his teammate. Shoutouts to Mars. But this, and Tsu, obviously Tsu, the premier Lucario, and it is just, he is so scary to fight against, because you can be doing, it doesn't matter how well you're playing, if you make one mistake when he has Aura, you die at almost any percent, and that is absolutely frightening. And a lot of people don't like playing it because of that, but I feel like, the correct thing to do against Lucario is assuming you get the first stock, to just run away for the rest of the game, because if he's at 0% or let's say like 5%, so you can hit him a little bit, just so you know, if he does kill you, you still have a lead enough to make him approach. You just run away because his approach options are very mediocre when he doesn't have a crazy strong aura sphere that he can, you know, threaten you with, especially if you're just gonna like chill on a platform. Like he can't really do much against that, because without aura his things aren't going to do a bunch of shield damage, and you know, obviously aura sphere is going to be less of a threat of you for like wanting to drop shield, so you can be a little more mobile. But because of aura, he can win any game, any matchup at any time, and he is so not fun to play against. Next is a character that had a decent spike over the course of 2016, but has kind of fallen back down due to people really playing against this character more carefully and just generally studying more about the character, and that is going to be Mega Man. So obviously the spike was when Kamame started coming over a little bit. He was doing incredibly well both at EVO 2016, Frostbite 2017, and just the general fall anytime he showed up to a tournament. But then people really started abusing this character. Kamame ran into more hard matchups such as Sheik's, Pikachu's, even like Bayo's have been giving him more trouble, and he started picking up a secondary. But this character still has a bunch of good things. He is probably what I would say is the best active zoner in the game, because that is definitely his game plan, but also has crazy punishes similar to, let's say, a Diddy Kong, because you can play him as like throw Metal Blade down, grab Metal Blade shield, punish out a shield with throw Metal Blade. Very similar to Diddy Kong. That's why I would always say Kamame plays like a Diddy Kong type Mega Man, whereas you see, let's say, other Mega Mans like Scat or Peebnut play more like standard Mega Man with like pellets and back airs and forward airs and up airs and things like that, just generally walling out. So this character does have multiple different play styles, but has several flaws. Again, one of the easier characters to combo in the game, in my opinion. One of the easier characters to edgeguard, because while he can up B and then jump, you know, his up B has an immense amount of RCO. Like if you put in some pressure and make him air dodge, he will land with a lot of lag. You have him just obviously not a lot of invulnerability on his up B, on a very irrelevant part, because he doesn't quite move fast enough for the up B to go like through a bunch of moves or characters, unfortunately. So you are able to edgeguard him if you have a long lingering hitbox out, and obviously if you threaten a little bit, then you force him to up B early, jump back on stage, and then kind of cover his double jump or his landing options, because he doesn't have that many great landing options. I would say his best one is probably going to be Leaf Shield, but Leaf Shield you still can trade you know, with the Leaf and then hit him with, let's say, an up air and keep him in disadvantage, and so it's very, very difficult sometimes for Mega Man to get down. But man, his advantage is so scary. When he has the lead and you have to get through these pellets, he is one of the most obnoxious characters to fight in the entire game, because you just feel like you're constantly running into a brick wall. It's only doing 1 or 2%, but you're still running into the brick wall, and he has a bunch of kill setups. You have the footstool out of shield, obviously. You have just back air being incredibly powerful, up air killing at like 120 at the floor, because you can like landing up air, up B, get a second up air, and that's going to kill pretty much every character at like 120, 130%. Just very, very good options, but I feel like the fact that if you don't land those choice kill moves and you're constantly walling people out, you know, it can get difficult to kill if you, let's say, can't land the back air or the grab. So he can sometimes be affected by like, oh, I'm really powerful right now, time to kill you at 60, or time to like throw you off stage and edgeguard you because you couldn't close out the stock, because his disadvantage isn't the best, and that is why, in my opinion, he's going to be still the upper half of mid tier, but not going to like ascend into the high tier. Next is going to be one of the weirdest characters in the entire game, especially after a new advanced tech has been released. I mean, not like recently, but within the last year, and that is going to be Olimar. The tech I'm talking about is Stickman, but I'm not really going to talk about that because no one's really applying it right now. But you have obviously an amazing player in Shuton playing this character. You have a very strong player in Myron playing this character. You know, Olimar does have a few flaws. His recovery is abusable because, again, no hitbox on it. If you throw out an aerial on his aerials, he actually, your aerial will always ping or hit the Pikmin, which is very unfortunate, so his aerials can lose to a bunch of aerials. But at the same time, if you have something like, if you know you whistle through an aerial as Olimar, and then you can get a counter hit, it is very hard. It is very sometimes difficult to approach Olimar. He has incredible kill potential between both down throw or back air, down throw up air, just forward smash at the ledge, or just in general. Olimar is very, very difficult to approach because of his, obviously his side B, the fact that the Pikmin bite will slow you down, it'll hit your shield, it'll do all these things, it'll make it very awkward to do out of shield timings. He can do a ridiculous amount of damage if he just gets the white on you and gets a grab, down throw, like forward air, dash grab, like things like that. You can get hit so hard as Olimar, and I feel like because he's always in the process of mixing between offense and defense, it is an amazing character for someone with really, really high levels of adaptation, such as, you know, Shuton, which I think Shuton's like a top 5 adapter in the game, which is why he's consistently getting like top 8 or top 12 at majors, with Olimar, who is in my opinion a mid-tier character. Does have a few flaws. I feel like people don't abuse how Pikmin work in the air quite enough, and people aren't really paying enough attention to his lineup, or like killing the purples, or just like constantly killing the Pikmin that they're scared of. Because the big thing is, in Brawl, hitting a Pikmin used to stale it, but in this game it does not, so you can just always use whatever move you want to get rid of any Pikmin that are going to be threats to you. Obviously, purple's going to be the main one that people are scared of, so that is going to be, in my opinion, the flaws of him, as well as, you know, his kind of difficulty to get out of disadvantage, because his Nair isn't that great for landing. Obviously, he has his bad recovery and edge trapping. He kind of needs to get like a whistle or something, or you to like, because even like if he ledge jumps, you're still going to juggle him because his landing options are kind of mediocre, although he can kind of psych you out with up B a little bit if he wants to do that, but still, you know, the characters higher than him will pretty much be able to punish him really hard if you get a hit. Up next is going to be one of my favorite characters in this game, both to play and to watch, and that is going to be my baby Samus. So Samus has honestly got significantly better, mostly due to the fact that patches are helping. Obviously, you have Shine Spark, which is a huge deal because you can get jank kills very, very early percents. You have very strong combos, you know, platforms and things like that. You recently discovered like up throw, up air on like half the cast or something on triplats in Town and City is actually a huge deal. Samus has plenty of ways in order for you to get early kills. She does so much damage. She's one of the best characters at zoning out because she has an incredibly long range Zair, forward tilt, and just you also at the same time have to be scared of dash attack because it is such a potent offensive option that people are generally going to be shielding, in which case you can get dash grabs. And while you're not going to get as much you know, off of a grab as, let's say, Zero Suit, the fact that you're more scared of her ground game makes it very, you know, easy to get grabs on people because they're more reluctant to drop shield because they don't want to get hit by either the dash attack, the forward tilt, things that will get them knocked away, in which case they have to get back through the pressure. Charge Shot is one of the best moves in the game as shield pressure and also covering landings, as well as just killing really early. She has so many shield break setups and will kill you at like 25% if you get your shield broken, as long as you're not bad at the bomb down or a combo like I am. You know, the biggest flaw of this character is she struggles to get out of disadvantage versus characters that have really potent juggle games, and her recovery, if you hit her out of her double jump, can be somewhat difficult. But honestly, like speedy characters kind of give her difficulty, assuming they're spacing around her shield, because she does have one of the best out of shield options in the game in terms of up B. You know, it kills at high percents. You know, she's not going to get punished for it pretty much at all. She has amazing stages. She just covers so many options. She does pretty well versus the meta, in my opinion, just because she's so punishing a lot of the times, and also at the same time can slow the game down. Salem has crazy high expectations of the character, thinks she's like top 15 or top 10, but I'm going to be a little more realistic, put her in like the 22 to 23 area, but still, in my opinion, an incredibly potent character that just has a few flaws, but if you just avoid those matchups, you will be good to go. And Samus is only going to be the middle of the 5 zoners that I'm going to be putting in this tier consecutively, because the next one obviously going to be another zoner, and that is going to be Villager. So Villager is such a weird character. I feel like none of the things he has should work together, but the way Renai and other villagers have played him makes him look absolutely fantastic. You know, you obviously have incredibly potent zoning with forward air, back air, side B, just like Nair out of shield, just being able to have so many out of shield options constantly make people guess when coming in, and then have huge punishes when they mess up. You obviously have fair planes, you have Nair strings, you have the ability to get shield breaks in terms of with Tree and Axe. Just Axe in general is an incredibly potent out of shield option. He has one of the best jabs, if not the best jab in the game, which can lead into forward air or up air or Axe at high percents, which is very problematic. It is safe on shield, and just generally, he can play very evasive. He's very comfortable being off stage, assuming you cannot pop his balloons. It's very difficult to do, which is why I say that. You know, he can pretty much always make it back. He does have a lot of kill potential with Bowling Ball, with Axe, with triple turnips, even with like point blank forward air and back air, but this character does struggle to like land sometimes against the faster juggling characters. He does have trouble with Cloud, he does have trouble with Bayonetta, he does have trouble with a few of the other top tiers that really oppress him and like make him not really able to play his game, which is kind of unfortunate for him, but still a lot of strong options. Has a bit of a drop off of results because Renai has been focusing more so on Splatoon because he loves that game, but I still do think this character is very strong and has the potential obviously to win majors, because I'm pretty sure Renai has won majors in Japan, but it did get a lot harder after you know, the last wave of DLC, because Corrin, Cloud, and Bayo all do very well versus him, so that kind of knocked him down a peg, because he clearly was high tier before, in my opinion, but now he's going to be obviously the next to highest character in mid tier, the highest being Toon Link. So again, another zoner, but this character is just powerful. The reason I think that Toon Link is one of the best zoners in the game is because he is the fastest of all the zoners. He's able to run through people, he's able to run away. The floatiness of his jump makes him able to pull bomb safely against almost every single character in the game, and obviously him with bomb is one of the scariest things because he has crazy confirms, he has a bunch of different mix-ups and timings, and if he hits you with a bomb, you are going to take damage, whether it's bomb into up tilt at low percent, bomb into nair at mid percents, or bomb into fair kill potential, bomb forward smash reads. This character has crazy potential in terms of just like he's able to reset you into neutral so many times. His neutral is very good because you're always scared of bomb, and is floaty enough that he doesn't really get hit and comboed very hard, but at the same time you feel like you need to get in there and you need to hit him more, which leads you getting hit by more bombs and then confirms, and you feel frustrated, and then you're behind, and so you have to go up and approach him again, and it kind of just loops over and over into itself. He is so potent after the hit, before the hit. Even in neutral, his disadvantage isn't even that bad. The worst thing about him, in my opinion, is the fact that you can kind of edgeguard him, but at the same time, the fact that his tether can tether the ledge from higher than every other character by like a significant margin kind of makes his recovery a little bit more difficult to hit. His main flaw is if he doesn't hit those bombs, or people are spamming shield, it is more difficult for him to do anything because he doesn't get anything off of his throws besides positioning. If they're shielding bomb, then you're generally not going to be getting hit by bomb forward air, bomb up air, bomb forward smash, air dodge reads, things like that. But at the same time, he puts you in neutral so many times that he will eventually crack you open. And again, similar to Olimar, I feel like the transition of him between being offensive and defensive is very conducive for adapting players. So it is crazy to play against him because that it doesn't matter how far ahead you are game 1, even if you win game 1, game 2 through 5 are going to be the hardest games against this character. And yeah, that is going to be about it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, social media, Panda and Partner stuff is down below. Let me know which characters you disagree with, because I'm sure, of course, it's the YouTube comment section and it's a tier list for Smash 4, so people are going to disagree. Look out for the high tier video, which is going to be coming out on Wednesday, and I will see you all next time. Bye.